The race to vaccinate Americans against COVID-19 is underway with nearly 2 million coronavirus vaccine doses already administered. That's according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention's COVID data tracker. As of Saturday, more than 9.5 million vaccine doses have been distributed, with nearly 2 million administered. Scientists in California are analyzing COVID-19 samples to determine if they contain the new strain of the coronavirus. The new variant has become the dominant strain of the disease in parts of England and has been linked to increased hospitalizations. 2 confirmed cases of the new coronavirus variant have appeared in Canada. Scientists say the variant is about 40 to 70% more transmissible than the original strain. On Saturday, Ontario reported more than 4,300 new COVID cases over the past 2 days, with the province seeing more than 2,000 cases per day for 12 consecutive days. Scientists say there is no evidence that vaccines currently on the market or other COVID-19 shots in development will or will not protect against this variant. Well, here with us now to discuss the new COVID strain is Dr. Lane Rowling, virologist and infectious disease expert. Dr. Rowling, so good to see you. It's been a few weeks.
Yeah, it's good to see you again, too. Good evening.
Good evening. Well, Dr. Rowling, why is the virus mutating at a rapid rate, and what does this mean for us?
Well, the bottom line is that I've been talking about this for almost a year. I've told people initially, for you to understand where we're going to go with the pandemic, you have to understand what you're dealing with. This virus itself, the SARS-CoV virus, is the largest RNA mutagenic virus on the planet. Very stable mutation. It mutates every 2 weeks, and it's an evolutionary genius because of the ability to mutate in the evolution or in the environment it's in. This new strain that we have out of the B117 out of London, England, is a game changer. I think everybody needs to understand that we're at the beginning of the second pandemic, the first wave of the second pandemic, being driven by this London strain, the South African strain, and also the SARS mutant mink strain. And this is part of the nature of RNA viruses and stuff. People need to understand when you're dealing with RNA viruses like this, these things mutate all the time. And this is just a part of their evolutionary genius, the ability to mutate. That is why it's so very difficult to come up with treatment for RNA viruses, because they're always changing. And this particular virus, the London strain, is 70% more effective. It's much more lethal, and I really do not believe that the vaccine is going to have any effect on any of these new mutant strains. That's just the science behind it.
Wow. So I have to tell you, Dr. Rowling, the reason why I haven't been here is because I actually tested positive for COVID. So I have been dealing with that the last 3 weeks. So finally getting a negative test, to hear about another strain obviously is disheartening at this point. So just knowing what I've experienced the last few weeks and the fact that you're saying that it's not possibly going to be effective with these vaccines, I mean, what do you say to people about that?
Well, the reality, it goes back to what we've talked about before, Brittany, about understanding basic biosecurity protocols. The mistake that everybody made, especially the Trump administration, is that you didn't tell the people what they were dealing with. For you to solve a problem, you have to understand what you're dealing with, and you have to understand the nature of what RNA viruses do. That's just the reality behind it. It's not a gloom or doom. This is what we're dealing with. But at the end of the day, we understand that we have to have great biosecurity, bioprotocols for yourself. You have to understand that this virus is going to mutate. Folks, we're going to go through you're going to go through the whole thing you went through last year. You're going to go through this year. Again, that's just the facts. And the bottom line, at the end of the day, you need to make sure that you understand that you have to be tested yourself, PCR testing. You have to have testing of your buildings. You have to have personal biosafety security protocols. Mask is mandatory. When we talk about wearing a mask, we're not talking about wearing a surgical mask. We're talking about wearing N95s. You've got to make sure that you're doing the best way to protect yourself, because this second strain, or what we call the London strain, the B117, even the South African strain, which are completely different mutants, are going to change the way we look at the world for the next 50 years.
So there are so many mixed opinions about when can we really expect to see some relief. You just mentioned that it doesn't seem like it's going anywhere. What are your thoughts about this when you think about when this could possibly end?
Well, I mean, when we look at it, Brittany, the reality is that, one of the things that the problem that people had is that people did not believe in the science. And I've always told people, one thing about me is that I understand the science, I understand the medicine. And the medicine and science tells you if you understand RNA viruses, and we can talk about dengue, we can talk about HIV, we can talk about all the different RNA viruses. When we look at this particular virus, the SARS-CoV virus, especially the mutant strain, the B117 out of London, the South African strain, and also the strain from the mink strain out of Amsterdam, which this mink strain is also here in Utah. These viruses are going to change. This is the reality of our world. But the reality is that we can fight it off. We can mitigate and contain if everybody understands the information. Wearing masks. When is the end point? The end point is when we have 90% of the people that are been affected by the SARS-CoV virus one way or the other. And that's that terrible word that people do not like to use, is 90% of herd immunity. Fauci was on television this morning he was talking about 60%. Now he's up to where I was talking about 90% of the population in the world has to have herd immunity before we can see the end of the tunnel. And that's a long ways to go. And that's why we have to keep educating people, keep reminding people to wear masks, not become complacent, because like you said, you just went through being positive for the SARS-CoV virus. So you can imagine if you get the London strain, which is a 70% more effective, 70% more lethal, it's going to be a different ballgame for a lot of people out there.
Yeah, and I mean, you talk about the long-term effects. I mean, I still have some of the symptoms. Like right now, I can't smell while I'm talking to you. So I know that it puts you down. Well, do you think this new strain could become more deadly, and will it have an impact on, one demographic in particular?
Well, I'm gonna be straight up. We're in the second pandemic, first part of the phase, driven by the London strain, and this London strain will be the predominant strain that's going to affect everybody because it has more effective fitness. In fact, when you look at the B17, this virus, folks, this virus in itself has had 23 mutations. 8 of the mutations have been in the spike protein that gives it the ability to attach to your cells, much more effective, and it's just a game changing. This is part of the evolution of viruses and stuff. And like you said, you can't smell. Well, that virus attaches to your nasal cell. People can't taste it. You can't taste the virus attaching to your taste cells. This is a multi-systemic virus that's going to change the world, what you went through last year. And this new strain, the London strain, is not the only one that's going to be coming down the road.
Well, Dr. Rowland, we definitely got to have you back. I'll share more of my story with you as well about what I've experienced. So we appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. You have a super fantastic evening, Brittany. If you need me anytime, I'm here for you. You take care of yourself.